Hi there, thank you for joining us for another episode of Canada's Movie and TV Hosers. I'm one of the hosts, Gregory Barrett, and with me is the star, Fluffy Kitty. She's not getting on her little pedestal right now. I guess she's just being a little bit difficult. I've been trying to bribe her with her brush to get up there, but she's being a little bit difficult today. That's alright. So, thank you for joining us. This is a show where we talk about all things in fandom that we love, new and old movies, trailers, different types of books, TV, and streaming. And this weekend is all about Star Wars because it's Star Wars Celebration. I admit this kind of snuck up on me. I thought it was actually coming next weekend. I didn't think it would happen this weekend with the long weekend for Easter. I guess they don't celebrate Easter in Star Wars Galaxy. So we got tons of new news and announcements from Star Wars Celebration from all the people at Lucasfilm. We'll see what comes from that. So let's dive right into that. Oh, before we do, I'm going to break down this episode. So I'm going to do a whole bunch of Star Wars Celebration news, including they released some trailers. One of them was the Indiana Jones 5 trailer, which I reviewed on the last episode. But this episode, we're going to be reviewing the Ahsoka trailer after we do all that news. And they released a new poster for it. Then we're going to go into some reviews. We got new episode of Yellowjackets, new episode of Star Wars The Mandalorian. I watched my new 4K copy of Solo, a Star Wars story. And also doing a review of a Legends book that I finished reading a week ago, Star Wars Darth Plagueis. And then if we have time, we'll get into some comments afterwards. Now, if you enjoy this video, you want to help us out, you can always give us a thumbs up, leave us a like, that will help us out. You can always leave a comment down in the description below, and you can subscribe for more content as we're posting more stuff here every week. Oh, come on, kitty. Come on, kitty. There we go. See if she settles there. So let's dive right into the Star Wars news. They got tons of news that they've been announcing. So according to StarWars.com, and they mostly seem to have announced a lot of the big things on Friday. There's nothing on this website, on the StarWars.com website for Sunday announcements here. So first thing we got, okay, there's some Lego group Star Wars dioramas. Oh, that's interesting stuff. So first thing is the Ahsoka trailer is here. So let's see, and the new poster. I'm going to put that up on the screen there. Let's say here. The trailer for Ahsoka coming August 2023 to Disney Plus has revealed today during Lucasfilm Studio Showcase. Yeah, this was on Friday. Star Wars Celebration Europe 2023. A major moment for the title character and her longtime fans. The trailer features Rosario Dawson, who plays Ahsoka Tano, in addition to Sabine Wren. These are characters from Rebels, if you saw Star Wars Rebels, which is a great show. If you haven't checked it out, you might want to do that. Sabine Wren, she's a Mandalorian. Hera Syndulla, she's the green Twilight lady, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And our favorite grumpy droid, Chopper, among others, clearly incorporating elements from the beloved Star Wars Rebels animated series and The Mandalorian. Yeah, this is mostly throwback to Star Wars Rebels there. So it's bringing back all these characters. I'm wondering if if the main character Ahsoka is going to be looking for Ezra Bridger, who is another one of the main characters from that show, because he went missing with Thrawn. And we saw in this trailer there's something going on. We see the back, like just the back of his head of Thrawn. And they even mention an old storyline from the expanded universe of Star Wars. It's called Heir to the Empire. So after the Empire has fallen, now I guess Thrawn is going to take over. I don't think they're going to be doing that legend storyline, but it's nice that they mentioned that there, because there's a lot of fans of that. So Thrawn and Ezra Bridger went missing, and so I'm guessing that they're going to be looking for him. And who knows how much Thrawn we're going to be getting. Grand Admiral Thrawn. I tried looking up on IMDb, and then I tried Rotten Tomatoes looking for any information on Ahsoka, see if they had a cast list or anything, and there's nothing up on either of them. So in addition to those characters, we also see Genevieve O'Reilly is back as Senator Mon Mothma. We saw her a lot recently in Star Wars Andor show. And we've seen her before in some of the prequel movies. She was in 2 and 3. I know she was in some deleted scenes from 3. Revenge of the Sith. So they had a bunch of the cast members there. What do we got here? We got Natasha Liu, who plays Sabine Wren. Mary Elizabeth Winstead joined Rosario Dawson on stage for Ahsoka. Dave Filoni was there. Got a beautiful new poster there. It's just all Rosario, close up of Rosario Dawson there, dressed up as Ahsoka. This is one of the more fan favorite characters from Star Wars. I'm looking forward to this. We did see her a couple of times already. We saw her in one episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, titled The Jedi. And then we saw her again pop up in, what was that? I think it was in Book of Boba Fett, when they cut to Luke Skywalker with Grogu. That's Baby Yoda there. And then Ahsoka was there for a quick cameo appearance, which wasn't really necessary, but it was nice to see her. So we're getting a lot of those fan favorite characters. This is coming in August. I'm already on board, but with the state of how things have been going for Star Wars on Disney Plus, which we're going to talk about later in this episode, I don't know. Hopefully it's a big hit. We'll see. Any fans of Star Wars Rebels out there, or the Ahsoka character, or any of the other characters from Rebels there, which we see in the trailer? Hera Syndulla, Sabine Wren, Chopper, Grand Admiral Thrawn. There was a couple of dark side users in this trailer, and maybe it was just me, but to me their lightsabers, they looked more orange than they did red. Did anyone else find that? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you excited for this show? I am. I don't know what Christine is going to say, but she'll be back, and she's just visiting her family right now. Let us know your thoughts on this down in the comments below. Next piece of news from Star Wars Celebration is they announced 3 new Star Wars movies. I have mixed feelings on this, but let me just go through the announcement here that's on the Star Wars website there. So, Lucasfilm Star Wars Celebration, Kathleen Kennedy announced that 3 new live-action Star Wars films are on the way. Helming the movies are James Mangold, who just finished making Indiana Jones 5, and they've been talking about that a lot at Star Wars Celebration. Dave Filoni, he's the guy who always wears the cowboy hat. He's behind Star Wars Rebels. Him and George Lucas made Clone Wars. And so he's bringing a lot of his animated characters, including the ones from Rebels, to live action now. And Academy Award and Emmy Award winning director Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, who made Ms. Marvel, Disney Plus series from last year, and Saving Face. I don't know that one. Let's see what they say on this. James Mangold's movie will go back to the Dawn of the Jedi. So that's going to be like, that's like old Republic stuff. That has nothing to do with any of the movies ever we've seen. We might see an appearance of Yoda. That might be the only character that would be alive. While Dave Filoni will focus on the New Republic and close out the interconnected stories told in The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and the Disney Plus series. That was my understanding. What they're going to do is they're going to have a big movie that culminates in the end of The Mandalorian show, and then wrap up all the other storylines from the other series. And Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy's film will be set after the events of Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, and building a new Jedi Order. What do we got here? So they released a picture there of all 3 of them on stage there with Kathleen Kennedy. She's the head of Lucasfilm. I have mixed feelings about this. I would love to see all of these things, but I mean, it's been how many years now, and we've had so many announced Star Wars projects, and they just keep firing everyone over at Star Wars there at Lucasfilm. I don't understand what's happening. I mean, at one point, Kevin Feige, who's the head of Marvel Studios, was going to be producing a Star Wars movie. That's not really happening, although she did address some questions about that. Patty Jenkins, who directed the Wonder Woman films, supposed to be doing Rogue Squadron. That's been taken off the release calendar. There's no work being done on that. It might still happen, according to Kathleen Kennedy. Who else is come and gone from there? Recently, Damon Lindelof, which I'm not really a big fan of his work, but he's done a lot of big things in television. He recently left Lucasfilm. He was developing something there. They had hired Benioff and Weiss, who are the showrunners for Game of Thrones. They were going to be doing stuff, and now they've gone. They were fired. Taika Waititi, who made Thor Love and Thunder, as well as Thor Ragnarok. And he was in Star Wars, he was in The Mandalorian. He did direct an episode of the first season of Mandalorian, and he does the voice of IG-11. He was going to be doing a Star Wars movie. Now apparently he's left. It's just kind of a mess. So it's great that they announced these 3 films, but I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Are you excited for any of these films? Do you think any of these films are going to happen? I mean, James Mangold just made Indiana Jones, so he's already working with Lucasfilm. Hopefully that happens. Dave Filoni, he's been working at Lucasfilm forever since they started making Clone Wars years ago. I don't even remember, when did Clone Wars start? I'm gonna look that up. Star Wars Clone Wars should come up here. 2003? Is that right? Huh. Is that the movie? Oh, that's a different movie. No, that's not the right thing there. Star Wars Clone Wars. Let's see what we got here. Because there's a few things. There was a Clone Wars movie that was made. That was an animated movie that was made. And then we got... What do we got here? My computer's acting up on me here. Star Wars... There's too many Star Wars things here. Star Wars The Clone Wars 2008. Yeah, that's the movie. So originally there's a Star Wars Clone Wars movie. It was like a made-for-TV movie, and then that led into the series. So that came out in 2008. So then the show would have picked up either in 2008 or 2009. It doesn't have good ratings on that. But then again, the first 2 seasons of Clone Wars weren't very good. If you're looking at getting into Star Wars Clone Wars, I would say watch the Clone Wars animated movie. Just kind of get through that. It does feature the first appearance of Ahsoka Tano when she was a Padawan, and then you can just jump right to the first episode of season 3 of Clone Wars, because you're not missing anything from the first 2 seasons, and you don't want to suffer through that. It's not very good. The rest is great though. And then if you're really into it, you could always go back and watch the first 2 seasons. But if you're just a glutton for punishment, I guess. It does have some fun stuff in it, but it's really just villain of the week. There's no stakes because all the characters are in the movies and they're in the next movie. And it's just different villains. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those first 2 seasons myself. Where are we here? Okay, so Ahsoka trailer. Looking forward to that. Indiana Jones 5 trailer, which we talked about in the previous episode. Next they announced on Saturday that Star Wars Return of the Jedi from 1983 is returning to theaters for the 40th anniversary. Do they say when that was? Now, re-releases don't usually do very well in theaters, but it is Star Wars. I might go see that actually. I wonder when that's coming out. Return of the Jedi, return to theaters. Let's see if they put the date on here for when it will actually be released. Starting April 28th, Return of the Jedi will return to select theaters in the US and UK and other regions for a limited time. I wonder if that will come here. As with the 40th anniversary screenings of Star Wars Empire Strikes Back in 2020. I must have missed that. Anyway. Oh, and they released a new poster for it. That's interesting. If that comes out here, I mean, I can watch Star Wars Return of the Jedi anytime, but I can't watch it on a big screen, so I might go check that out. That'd be a fun experience. I don't think I've ever seen that in the theater. So, but that's not really big news from Star Wars Celebrations. I mean, it's fun. let's see what we got here. Hasbro, over 20 Hasbro Star Wars reveals. So that's Hasbro is the toy company. So they're doing all the Star Wars toys there. Hasbro announced more Indiana Jones action figures. Yeah, they've been popping up a lot on social media there with pictures of. They even got like Marcus Brody action figure. They got Old Man Indiana Jones. They got Indiana Jones from Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom Indiana Jones. What else we got here? Star Wars Tales of the Jedi Season 2 announced. So, Christine and I reviewed this a couple months back. These were just animated shorts. I think there was 5 or 6 of them. And they just kind of fleshed out the story more. They showed more of Dooku as a Jedi. Oh, here's Penny. Good kitty. I'll bribe her with some treats, see if she'll stay. There you go, Penny. There you go. There was more about Dooku with his Padawan, Qui-Gon Jinn, which we actually got Liam Neeson returned for that, because Liam Neeson likes to return for Star Wars. He's been doing it for years now. He even did it back in Clone Wars. Hey, you want to stay? You want to stay here, Penny? Penny, come on. There you go. There, see if I can get her to stay. There was stuff about in Tales of the Jedi, the first season for Ahsoka. I didn't really care for those ones. They were just kind of. The first one showed how she was taken from the Jedi when she was an infant to be trained at the Jedi Temple, which that's always been a questionable practice for that. Oh, here it is. Okay, the first season of Tales of the Jedi featured 6 episodes with a split focus on Ahsoka Tano and Count Dooku. That was Christopher Lee's character from we saw in episodes 2 and 3, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. For more on season 1, check out list of 15 highlights. Stay tuned for StarWars.com. So, doesn't really say how much it's going to be, but we're going to get a second season. So it's just more animated shorts. Well, I'll tune in and check it out. I mean, I have Disney Plus anyway. So a lot of big announcements from Star Wars Celebration. And what else did they do? So there's a lot of cast interviews with the new Star Wars The Acolyte show that's coming out. Don't really know too much about that. I've been trying to watch all these cast interviews. It's just I'm trying to put out these episodes this weekend, so there's some interesting stuff there. Oh, there is a great picture, actually. I wonder if I can find it here. And if I can find it, I'm going to put it up on the screen here. You guys will love this. What it is, it's the whole cast of The Acolyte. You know, there's Andor. Oh, here it is. So you got Daphne Keane and Amanda Stenberg right in the middle. And then and you got the rest of the cast there. On the one end is there's a Korean actor, and he's the guy from Squid Game. And then on the other end is I can never remember his name, and I can't pronounce it either. But he is the guy who plays. Oh, Carrie-Anne Moss is there. Is she in this picture? I don't know. If she is, I don't recognize her. We got. Hold on, I'm going to look it up on The Acolyte on Rotten Tomatoes, see if we get anything here. They haven't really announced much yet, and so there's nothing that's actually being put up yet. He was in Solo, Star Wars, Solo, a Star Wars story. What is this guy's name? He plays Chewie. Jonas Sutamo. So he's in this picture, and he is about like 2 feet taller than most of the other people, and it's seems like a really nice guy, but it really shows the difference. This guy's really tall. And okay, so we got a lot of cast interviews for The Acolyte. Looking forward to that. I think that's supposed to focus on a Sith character, so it's more of a Sith in training, I believe. I'm guessing that's Daphne Keen's character. We got some news on Star Wars Andor Season 2, so they brought out a lot of the cast, including Diego Luna and Genevieve O'Reilly and a bunch of the other people, so they're talking about Star Wars Season 2. We got a cast appearance for the new Star Wars The Skeleton Crew series, which is supposed to be a bunch of kids finding their way home in the Star Wars universe, and Jude Law is the star of it. Jude Law. Everyone wants to be in Star Wars, so they pretty much have access to unlimited talent. They can call up whoever they want, and it's like, Christian Bale, you want to be in Star Wars? And they if they want to, they'll put him in Star Wars. If they want someone else, they can get pretty much whoever they want. And then the big news, which I don't know how I really feel about this, but big news is when they announced the new movie with that's going to take place after the events of Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. They're bringing back Daisy Ridley is returning to play Rey Skywalker. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not a huge fan of all the sequel trilogies. Force Awakens was fun, but it really is kind of a nothing movie. It's just the exact same story beats again and again. If I describe the story beats to you you would be hard-pressed to try and figure out, okay, am I talking about Force Awakens or am I talking about the original Star Wars A New Hope from 77? Because it's all just the exact same story beats. So Force Awakens was a fun movie. Last Jedi, I enjoyed it for the most part. I know that's a very divisive film. A lot of fans don't like it. Some people do. I'm fine with it. And then there's Rise of Skywalker, which I'm not going to harp on this, but I'm not really a big fan of it myself. It didn't work for me. If you're a fan of it and you enjoy it, I don't want to take that away from you. I'm jealous that you enjoy that. That is not one that I enjoyed. So I think what they're doing here by bringing Daisy Ridley back, and then they're going to make another movie that's 15 years later, I think they're doing the Warner Brothers DC approach. Because if you've been following the DC Extended Universe for the past 10 years, because it's been going since 2013 with Man of Steel, every time they come out with a movie, if it does well or not, it doesn't matter. They just keep going, okay? It doesn't matter. First one was bad. Okay, we'll course correct, and we're just going to keep going. Batman v Superman didn't do so great. Okay, we're just going to keep going, and we're just going to keep going. Don't worry about it. If it connects very well to the previous ones, if it doesn't, don't worry about it. We're just going to keep going. So they're like, okay, Rise of Skywalker wasn't that well received by fans. It still made a lot of money. That film didn't lose money by any stretch, but it's, I don't know, not a lot of fans of it out there that I've found. Most people, actually, I don't want to get into that, but instead they're just going to go, okay, we'll just keep going. We're going to make another movie that's set 15 years later. We're bringing back Daisy Ridley. We'll see if this movie happens. Like I said, I'll believe it when I see it. In the meantime, we're just going to keep going. We're going to do something different. If that works, we'll go with that. They're just going to throw a bunch of things at the wall and see what sticks. Hopefully it works out. Am I opposed to seeing Daisy Ridley come back to play Rey Skywalker? No. If anyone wants to know why she's called Rey Skywalker, where's my lightsaber hilt there? There it is. Got my Mace Windu lightsaber. So for this point, some people didn't like how spoiler for Rise of Skywalker. I mean, if you haven't seen this movie, it's been 4 years, and you're a Star Wars fan, what are you doing? At the end of the movie, she decides she's going to call herself Rey Skywalker. And she's got a yellow lightsaber, and she's Rey Skywalker because bloody well she says so. Okay? She's the last Jedi. So does that make her a master? I don't know. She's got a yellow lightsaber. She's defeated the dark side powers. Are you going to mess with her and tell her she's not Rey Skywalker? I'm not. Just because that story didn't go the way I had hoped it would go, or I didn't agree with certain story beats, that's fine. Don't have to like everything. It's art. maybe you're a big fan of it. Are you excited to see the return of Rey Skywalker? Hopefully she has her big yellow staff lightsaber, because that was made from her old staff that she had on Jakku, which is just just a rip off of Tatooine, I guess. Are you excited to see that? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll read that out on. I'll get back to you, and hopefully, if your comment's appropriate, might read that out on a future episode there. Now we're gonna jump into another segment. Moving on to our next segment, we're gonna jump into a bunch of reviews. It's just me and Fluffy Kitty here today. Christine will be back for future episodes. Now, I know I said this is a big Star Wars week because this is the weekend of Star Wars Celebration. But before I get into a bunch of Star Wars stuff, I gotta start out with some other stuff that's new, and that is Yellowjackets. So just on Friday, we got Yellowjackets Season 2, Episode 3, and it is called Digestif. Okay. It says that it doesn't premiere until Sunday, but it comes out on Friday here. I'm not sure what's going on there. So I made some notes when I watched this episode. So similar to what I've been doing with other things, I got pros and cons. So I'm going to start off with the bad things here. You guys judge for yourself whether you think I come up with more pros or cons. So first off, thing that I didn't like, there's a lot of glitches. They keep having a glitch effects. I know that was part of the intro in season 1, which I didn't like the intro at all. Their opening credits thing there. But we're getting a lot more scene transitions that are glitches, and doesn't really work for me. There's a spoon tasting. We're getting the coach who's stuck in the cabin there. We're getting flashbacks to his memories to him at home there, and he's hanging out with his boyfriend, and he's like, "Here, try this." That's just my own gripe, because he takes the spoon, he tries it, and then he takes the spoon and puts it back in the food there. That's kind of gross. Young Taissa doesn't remember what's going on, what she's doing. She seems to have multiple personality disorders. And then when her girlfriend confronts her, she has no idea what's going on. She's like, "What did I do?" Reminds me of Norman Osborn in 1960s Spider-Man comics. They make a joke about breakfast the next morning. So if you saw season 2, oh, by the way, this is spoiler, of course. But episode 2 ended with them eating, what's her name? Jackie's corpse got barbecued, and then the snow fell on it, so it didn't finish. The fire pyre that they set up there didn't finish, so they ended up they all ate her. So then one of them made a joke the next morning about breakfast, like, "Anyone hungry for breakfast?" I'm like, okay, that was a bit uncalled for. The one character, and I can never remember her name, Lottie. Yeah, she's got some mental health issues, and it's definitely coming out because she doesn't have her medication anymore. The older version of Lottie like, what's going on with this purple cult? Why are they wearing light purple all the time, and why is she running this cult? I mean, I know she seems kind of crazy, but I'm not on board with this. And Natalie is staying there, and she's already stabbed someone in the hand with a fork, and she clearly doesn't want to be there. I don't see what's going on there. Hand drawing. Is there hand drawings? I forget. I don't remember what I wrote down about that. Someone's doing hand drawings there. Taissa's multiple personalities and now weird visions. So she has multiple personalities, and she doesn't remember what she does, even though apparently she's doing some crazy things, and that came to light at the end of at the end of the first season there, with our older self was doing this, and now she's getting weird visions. What is this? She's getting force visions now? Elijah Wood's character, don't like that at all. Not that I don't like Elijah Wood, but his character just seems really dumb and unnecessary. And he lives on a houseboat, and he's some junior detective, and he's impersonating an FBI officer. What is this? Shauna's husband Jeff spends a whole bunch of time bitching to his wife about her cheating on him. Yeah, they have a whole conversation in a diner about this. Like, really, buddy? If you're upset that she cheated on you, then either leave her or, talk it out and forgive her, but don't just sit around bitching the whole time. Don't really like that character, and there's no need for this. Why is there so many car incidents in this world? Every time someone turns around, what's happening? Oh yeah, cause Shauna and husband Jeff, they got carjacked this episode. Whereas at the end of last episode, Taissa gets into a car accident with her wife, which was probably her fault because she wasn't paying attention to the road. Why did her husband want to leave and drive to Virginia all of a sudden? He was upset, he's complaining, he's bitching, as I just mentioned. Then they get in the car, he's still complaining, and he's like, okay, moving on. Let's drive to Virginia. Why? Because he wants to go to Virginia for some reason? Okay. The bees. They're doing the Yellowjacket bees, the Lottie and her purple cult. They're cultivating beehives. Really? What do we need this for? Young Shauna's freaking out. I mean, maybe you should have done that like 10 episodes ago, but and then they decide they're planning a baby shower? All the girls, I mean, I get they're stuck in this cabin and they got cabin madness going on and they're starving to death. But I mean, this goes back to what I was saying when I reviewed season 1 of Yellowjackets. They made the wrong decision. At the beginning, they crash landed, they get out of the plane, and then once they kind of collect themselves, they're like, okay, there's a lake that way, we're going to walk that way, we'll leave a message on the plane, and then we're going to, so we have a water source. And then they found the cabin. See, going back to when I first reviewed season 1, you have to make a decision. What is your best chance of living through this? Is it just surviving out in the woods? Or is it being rescued? Now, if I'm in this situation, I want to be rescued. And my best chance of being rescued, if they haven't found the plane and the wreckage because of what Misty did in season 1, you want to get out of there. They wasted all this time. They crash landed in the summer. They wasted all this time. They could have just gathered what gear they had and any food they had, and if they were able to take down a big game and pack some meat or something, just go and pack some water, and then take the whole group. And if the one-legged coach can't come, obviously, and people want to stay behind to care for him, but the people who leave, they have the best chance of surviving and getting out. In which case, then they can say, okay, well, the coach is still there if they're rescued within a couple of weeks, and hopefully he's still alive. They've just decided we're just going to try and survive, and it's just dragging on this story, and poor decisions, but also I understand the writers are kind of dragging this out. Okay, so baby shower, okay, and then arguing in their head. No. Oh, this is a terrible line. I absorbed my identical twin in the womb. Okay, who says that to someone? Okay, is that supposed to make her? The one girl says that to Shauna, or was it Natalie? I can't remember. To try and make her feel good because they just engaged in this act of cannibalism the night before. Now, not only are we getting Coach flashbacks about him and his boyfriend and that, but now he's also having visions too. What is this? It's just off the rails. Now he sees a snow moose. Okay, it's completely white, and it's right in front of her, and she misses it. Okay. What are Misty and Elijah Wood investigating in the future? I don't understand what they're up to. Once again, it's just an extra thing, and they're just dragging it on. And young Taissa says, the one with no eyes. We've seen that before. We saw it in this episode. She's having these weird visions of someone with no eyes. It just seems ridiculous to me. And then the husband Jeff, who's mad at his wife Shauna, then now he's lying to the cop. If he's so mad at her, why is he protecting her? And now he's an accomplice after the fact. Sure, there's a Steel Magnolia scene. That's not really my favorite movie. I don't know if I've ever actually made it through that whole movie. If you enjoy that, great, but I didn't need a Steel Magnolia scene. And Coach is going crazy and possibly dying. Seems like has a fever and he's just lying there. I know he's starving because he didn't eat like the kids did. So I'm guessing he's next. Okay, he's probably who's going to die next, and they're going to eat him because that seems to be the theme of this show. What else here? Taissa talking to her Gollum self in the mirror. Yeah, the older Taissa. She's talking to herself in the mirror, and herself is staring her down and giving her dirty looks. Like, what is this, Gollum? Another good line. Maybe I'm just a bored Moriarty looking for a Sherlock. Is that a pickup line? That's some tough dialogue there. This occult symbol that keeps popping up all the time, and now there's all these weird things going on. This has just gone off the rails. Then suddenly they're all sitting around, they hear a bunch of noise, and they go outside, and it's a bunch of dead birds that all just torpedoed themselves off of the roof and the window there. What is this? The birds now? And then so there's all these dead birds there. Well, they can eat the birds at least. And Misty comes up with some ridiculous rationalizing for it. It's like, oh, well, the airwaves and their sonar must be off. I'm like, what is this nonsense? All the bees die and blood in the hives. Yeah, that now Lottie's having visions, so everyone's having visions. Okay? And then there's also the music. I can't get on board with this music. There's a song at the end. Didn't care for it. Even the opening credits that they have, didn't care for that either. I usually just skip right past it. So I have 30 things that I didn't really enjoy about this episode, but I wrote down things that I did enjoy, and I got 3 of them. First is Mr. Schmoozums. That was pretty funny. That's because Shauna and Jeff get carjacked, and he's like, why are you acting crazy? Like, she fights him and gets the gun. You're gonna kill this guy. You're gonna risk our lives over our crappy minivan. And he is right, but she's like, nope, I'm going at it. Sylvester Stallone style. I'm gonna take this guy out. And then afterwards, she's like, why would you do that? And she's just coming up with all kinds of dumb reasons. My purse is in there. This is in there. That's in there. Mr. Schmoojums is in there. Their daughter's like childhood stuffed animal. That was pretty funny. Young Natalie apologizing to Jackie in the cabin there. Yeah, that was a pretty good scene. I enjoyed that. And then later on, Shauna going after her minivan. So they get carjacked. She tries to fight him off. Jeff is like, I'm not getting shot. I'm sitting back, that's what you would do, because you don't want to get shot, especially not over a crappy minivan. So she's fighting with him, gets the gun. She's going to shoot the guy, but he takes off in their minivan. Okay. But then later on, she goes and tracks down the chop shop. I'm guessing probably from GPS in the van. And then goes to the guy and holds him at gunpoint. And he starts like acting tough and talking trash to her. And she just shuts him right down. She just starts talking about skinning people alive and all these things that she had to do when she was young out in the woods because she's crazy and messed up. And this guy just starts, I thought he was going to pee his pants. He's just shitting bricks there because he is scared to hell because he was playing it tough. And I was like, is she really going to kill him? I mean, if she did kill this guy in a chop shop, with his own gun, by the way, that she stole earlier, and then kills the other guy that didn't hear her come in, is just chopping up cars, and then you wipe the gun. Well, yeah, you wipe the gun, you throw it in the river or something, and then cops show up, What's there to link her to that place? She would have taken her minivan by then. It's not like they keep records of anything. They're criminals. It's a chop shop. So, but it was a pretty intense scene, and I'm like, that actress must be having a good time there. What's her name? Melanie Linsky? Yeah, Melanie Linsky. She's in Yellowjackets. We just saw her recently on The Last of Us. Oh, she must be having a great time there. I think she's from New Zealand. She has a great American accent. But she's from New Plymouth, Taranaki, New Zealand. Anyway, she must be having a great time on these shows. So there's a couple good things about it, but 30 bad things about episode 3 for season 2 of Yellowjackets. I'm not going to continue watching this. I'm tapping out. If you're enjoying this show, don't let me take that away from you. If you're enjoying it and you still get enjoyment out of it, go ahead, let me know what you're enjoying about it. Maybe provide fresh perspective on this. It's not working for me. It's just becoming so ridiculous. It has become Riverdale, which is a show that was completely off the rails for the first season and just kept getting worse. It's not like the Riverdale most people think of when they think of Archie comics, but it's becoming Riverdale. They're copying Moon Knight with all the multiple personalities, but doing a way worse job of it. What else is there? I mean, and they're trying to make it like a buddy cop thing in the future, but there's all these mental health issues and people that aren't getting help. This show, and it's clearly copying the movie Alive, which I believe is from the 90s. And that's really old. They're just taking a lot of ideas, they've mashed it together, but this is a case where it's another series that has gone on for too long. This happens a lot in North America. This could have been really good if it was just a limited series. Maybe they could have done it as they could have done like one season, 10 episodes, roughly 1 hour each, and it was a limited series. But ever since, I think, episode 8 of the first season, it's just been getting more and more off the rails for me. They kind of toned it back in a little bit, I guess, at the finale of the first season. But this is it's just going way too far. And, like, it's better to end a show on a high rather than just to mine it and just dig it into the ground. You're just beating a dead horse at this point. This happens with any kind of show that goes too long. Eventually it just gets canceled. I mean, in terms of Star Wars, Clone Wars got canceled after 6 seasons, and it was only when they brought it back on Disney Plus for the final season they could wrap up that story. But if things aren't working, you just kind of got to wrap it up. And if it's better to have a story as, for this one, 10 episode limited series, they could have wrapped it up in the last 2 episodes, and you would have ended on a high. It's like, it would be, yeah, I enjoyed it. Maybe they'll do something down the road if they have another really good idea, but at this point, it's gone on way too long, unfortunately. So, I'm tapping out of Yellowjackets. Are you still enjoying it? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you are enjoying it, what are you enjoying about it? If you're not, let me hear your thoughts on it as well. What is our next review? So now we're getting into the Star Wars stuff. So new Star Wars this week is The Mandalorian. And which episode is this? Episode 6. Now I've already heard a lot of people saying that they didn't like this episode. I enjoyed it for the most part. It wasn't the best episode, but it wasn't the worst. What was it called? Chapter 22, Guns for Hire. Din Djarin, who's the Mandalorian, and Bo-Katan, Katie Sackhoff. Oh yeah, spoilers by the way. So they end up on this planet, Plizar 15. They meet up with Lizzie and Jack Black. I mean, the place looks beautiful, and you can see all these, he has Imperial badges on him, but he's wearing a completely different uniform. A lot of the guards there are wearing Imperial Stormtrooper armor, but only part of it, just the underneath, and then they have other things on top of it, and they're not wearing the helmets, or they have different helmets. So there's a lot of remnants of the Empire. Baby Yoda does a flip, because you gotta do the big flip all the time, and is hanging out with Lizzie for most of the episode, while Bo-Katan and Din Djarin are investigating. This planet can't deal with their own crime or their own issues. They have to hire these guys to deal with it for them. It's just kind of do this, then do this, then do this, then do this, then do this, all to do that, so that they could originally get to their original one, which all they want to do was go talk to the Mandalorians that are there, that are now mercenaries and have the Imperial Star Destroyer that they stole at the end of the last episode. And then those are the people that left Bo-Katan, and she's just sitting in her castle there on her pillows there, just relaxing by herself there, I guess. Didn't look very comfortable, that throne. So we get, who else do we get? Yeah, we get Christopher Lloyd makes an appearance in this. This was kind of a Scooby-Doo episode, except he didn't really say why he did. He should have said, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for you meddling Mandalorians. The dark saber thing that they did between Din and Bo-Katan, going back a few episodes ago when they were on Mandalore. I was talking to Christine about that before. That wasn't really a good way of handling that. He's just like, here, I'm gonna hand you my dark saber, and because you defeated that enemy. Well, why didn't you just let her keep it, 3 episodes ago, because she had it? Seems kind of after the fact, and not really a good way of dealing with it. Although they did kind of paint themselves into a corner with the Mandalorian having this dark saber. Bo-Katan wants to rule, and the only way she can get the dark saber is by winning it in a fight. I mean, that's kind of a technicality, how she won it in a fight. She didn't actually win it from him. I mean, it would have been better if they had just, had some dumb fight, and he just, let her smack him around for a bit, and then he's like, okay, here, take it. I give up. And he's like, yeah, I'm fine, though. That would have been better than this, I guess. Enjoyed seeing Jack Black and Lizzie there, Christopher Lloyd. Did anyone get vibes that he was Old Man Withers from Scooby-Doo? Because he was behind all of it. I enjoyed seeing the droid bar. Christine and I were commenting on that when we watched it there on Wednesday. Because it's always, droids aren't welcome. We don't serve your kind there, because I guess they're very racist against droids in the Star Wars universe. So droids have to go to their own bar. I think we see some of that too in Futurama. Maybe Futurama copied that from Star Wars, because Bender and all the robots, they don't usually hang out with the humans. Bender just hangs out with the gang there, but they go to their own bars and everything. I'm thinking they stole that idea from Star Wars. Overall, I enjoyed the episode. It was probably the weakest episode. Now, I do have news. Went through earlier a whole bunch of Star Wars news, but I kept some of it in the back there because, according to Decider.com, they came out with an article on the 3rd, Monday. So yeah, I'm a little bit behind because I only do a couple episodes a week. The State of Star Wars, does The Mandalorian stumble signal big trouble for Disney Plus? I don't know about that. This was the show that really launched Disney Plus. That's why I signed up for it, and it had nothing on it, just old things. So let's just say here, there's a moment in almost every Star Wars story where our beloved heroes face an ambush. What they thought was a clear escape down a trash chute, a safely hidden Hoth base, or perfectly protected Mandalorian castle is suddenly a killing field. Our heroes have to use their luck, pluck, and the Force to save their skins. Lately, it seems as if Disney Plus's Star Wars television shows have stumbled into their own bit of danger and are in need of rescue. Yeah, recent shows have not been well received. I've had fun with them. I enjoy getting more Star Wars. Just as an aside there, I know a lot of people didn't like Book of Boba Fett. I'm not a big fan of it either. I don't apologize for it. I don't apologize for anything that If you don't like a certain Star Wars property, fair enough. Just tell us why, and then let's move on. But if other people enjoy it, let them enjoy it. So, I always enjoyed all the Star Wars movies, and the shows as well, until more recently. But I don't want to get into that because I'd rather talk about things that I enjoy. But recent Star Wars Disney Plus shows, because we haven't had a movie since 2019 with Rise of Skywalker. We've had Book of Boba Fett. People didn't like that. But they did enjoy the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. Huge ratings for that. Huge ratings for the first season. Then second season was even more. Book of Boba Fett. People didn't like that. Still had pretty good, decent ratings. Then we had Obi-Wan. It was the biggest show in the world at one time. And I enjoyed parts of it. Others, nah. I might rewatch it and do a review of it sometime. Andor, which critics have loved this. Audiences didn't bother watching it. I wonder what it would say on Rotten Tomatoes, because audiences didn't watch it as much, but apparently the audiences that did watch season 1 of Andor has an 85% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 96% critic score. I loved it. A lot of people did, but if they didn't like Obi-Wan or Book of Boba Fett, they might have tapped out by then. So that's not really a good strategy on their part. And now we're getting The Mandalorian Season 3, and it's having even lower ratings. And that's what this article is all about. While the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian were massive critical and commercial successes, Star Wars TV in 2022 was a decidedly mixed bag. The Book of Boba Fett polarized fans and disappointed critics. Yeah, that's being nice. Who gave it a generous 66% score to the audience's 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I'd say that's generous too. It wasn't that great. Does anyone remember the Mos Espa Vespa gang? That was ridiculous. Obi-Wan Kenobi was better received, but didn't make a massive dent on pop culture. Yeah, I could have done without that. It was cool to see, but they didn't need to do that. Andor was universally beloved by critics, but rejected by normies. I guess that they mean general audiences there, who made it the least watched Star Wars live-action show on Disney Plus to date. Yikes. And it was and critics say it's one of the best things of Star Wars to come out since Empire Strikes Back in 1980. And it is really good. It's more Star Wars for adults. But Star Wars is also for kids. Kids could watch it. I don't know if they'd be interested or not. As a 10-year-old, I probably would have been, but there's a lot of things in this that would have gone over my head. In Andor Season 1, that probably would have gone over my head. So Season 3, according to the chart of the Nielsen ratings, it's not looking good here. What do they have to say? The Mandalorian Season 3 premiered on March 1st, 2023, to a significantly subdued reception, especially when compared to Mando Season 2. Series star Pedro Pascal was arguably enjoying more attention for his work on HBO's The Last of Us, which was great. Critics dimmed their elusive praise for the series, and industry scuttle was that it was not nabbing the Coruscant skyscraper high ratings of past years. This, coupled with numerous reports of shelved and scrapped Star Wars features, puts the future of Lucasfilm's biggest franchise in jeopardy. Whoever wrote this must really be into Star Wars. Okay? It's really only the hardcore Star Wars fans that know Coruscant, I find. But, I don't know. If you're not a big fan of Star Wars and you recognize the name Coruscant and know all about it, leave a comment down below. Maybe I'm completely wrong on that. So, The Mandalorian I'm enjoying it. We still got 2 more episodes. One of the problems with this season is there's no overarching theme or quest. The show is just it's just meandering and it's just going wherever. The first season was he finds the youngling, and Season 1, Season 2, he's got to get him back to his people. He's been charged with this quest. And then they do that. And then he gets him back in Book of Boba Fett in 2 episodes. Then it goes to, and now we're back to season 3. They need, and now he has to redeem himself. He has to go take a swim on Mandalore. Okay, he did that. Bo-Katan rescued him because him and his armor sank. Now they're, I don't know, what are they doing? They're gathering up the Mandalorians so that they can retake Mandalore. Who are they retaking Mandalore from? When he was there, all he saw was that Krang creature and then a bunch of cave trolls. Is there someone else that has taken it? If you know the answer to that, let me know down in the comments below, but I have no idea what's going on. Still enjoying it, though. We're not seeing as much Baby Yoda. Maybe this is a show where they kind of need to wrap it up, and then that can lead into, Bo-Katan, Mandalore series, or I don't know what their plans are. I have been enjoying the storytelling where they have their main storyline, but they also do a lot of side stories. I was enjoying that, and they haven't done that the past couple episodes. Maybe they could have used that this episode and shortened their main storyline and get rid of all this, them being junior detectives, private eyes on this alien world. Overall, I'm still really enjoying it, and I'm down for the next 2 episodes. Are you enjoying it? Let me know what you think of The Mandalorian. Are you still watching it for season 3? Have you tapped out? Let us know down in the comments below. We'll read them out. Christine will be back for a future episode, and we'll go through those. I think everyone's talking about why people have tapped out of this. Could be the last couple Star Wars shows weren't very good. And so general audiences just aren't enjoying it, so it's just the hardcore Star Wars fans that are watching it. I still think it's probably getting good enough ratings that they're going to continue it. I mean, we got news from Star Wars Celebration that they're going to be wrapping it up with a movie. Maybe they're going to do season 4. I'm not quite sure on that. I got to read more on that. I think the answer is more simple than that, why people have checked out. Times are tough right now. I mean, between Christine and I, we got a few subscription services, but we don't have all of them. I don't have Apple TV Plus. I don't have Paramount Plus. What are some other ones that we could get here? I don't think we have Peacock here in Canada. So those would be the other 2 that I don't have them, and I have no plans to go and get them anytime soon. And with times being tough and inflation is really bad all over the world, that's not what this show is about, but people have... a lot of them have canceled their Disney Plus subscriptions, from what I've heard. I've even heard it on the news. People are just saying, yeah, we gotta make some cutbacks. Disney Plus is usually the first thing on the chopping block unless you got little kids. But if your kids are teenagers or older, moved out of the house, what do you sign up for Disney Plus for unless you're a huge Marvel or a Star Wars fan? Are people signing up for Disney Plus so they can watch, that Enchanted sequel? I don't know. I know I didn't. That's why I still have Disney Plus. I watch all the Star Wars and Marvel stuff that comes out there. And the shows, they don't get released on physical media or anything, so that's the only way to watch it. Why do you think that Star Wars Season 3 of Mandalorian has dropped so much? If you got a better theory, let me know. So that's our thoughts on this week's episode of The Mandalorian. Still looking forward to the next 2. Now, because this weekend is Star Wars Celebration over in Europe, last Sunday I decided I was going to sit down and I was going to watch my new 4K disc of Solo, A Star Wars Story, which Christine was nice enough to get for me for St. Patrick's Day. So I sat down to watch this last Sunday evening and had a really fun time with it. How long is this movie? I don't think it was too long. 135 minutes, so it's 2 hours, 15 minutes. It kept me engaged the whole time. I hadn't seen this since I saw it in the theater. I think I saw it twice in the theater. I think I went the first time I took the kid, and then the second time I took Christine and we saw it. And for the longest time, I maintained that this one, which is from 2018, was one of my least favorite Star Wars movies. But even still, even my least favorite Star Wars movies, I still watch them, except for one, except for I'm not gonna get into it. I don't want to mention it right now. But I contend that at the time that it was quite boring and I didn't really enjoy it. It was kind of just more of the same, more of what we already knew. It hit all the beats there. No one was bad in it. I mean, everyone was expecting Alden Ehrenreich, who plays young Han Solo, that everyone was going to hate him, especially Star Wars fans. I haven't heard really anyone talk about how they didn't like his performance in it. He was great in it. You know, the new guy, the Scandinavian guy who plays Chewbacca. Emilia Clarke was in it. Would have liked to see more of her character. You got Woody Harrelson in there playing like a Star Wars Billy the Kid or something. Donald Glover as a young Lando Calrissian. He kind of steals he steals every scene that he's in. He's great. They put Paul Bettany in there as the villain because they had to reshoot it all. You got Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I believe, is the Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She's the droid L3. Was it L3, L7? And she's such a sassy droid. That's she's just constantly, and apparently her and Lando have a relationship. I don't know what's going on there. That's it alludes to some weird things there. Looking it up on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 69% fresh critic rating and a 63% audience score. I guess I found new appreciation for this now that I've watched this again, and I think it actually moved up on my Star Wars movies ranking. Maybe sometime I'll go through that and I'll rank all of them for which ones I like the most. Maybe Christine and I will do it together and we'll review all of them, and then at the end we'll do a ranking for them. I could see myself watching this again. It was fun. I mean, it's from, how old is this now? It's 5 years old now. It seems to have grown on me. What are some highlight parts? I mean, we get to see the Kessel Run. That's interesting. What's his name? Woody Harrelson's character. He's just constantly out for himself and betraying everyone. That's the only reason why he's lived so long, is because he doesn't form ties to anyone. And if it's like, oh, Tandy Newton, who's in it, is dead. Okay, that sucks, but he's just gonna keep going right on. You know, that's life in the Star Wars galaxy. Would have liked to see more Emilia Clarke. Would have liked to see more Lando by Danny Glover. No, Donald Glover. Or Danny Glover's a different guy. But I would also like to see more of Alden Ehrenreich as Solo. He did talk about a month ago or so in the news about, yeah, he'd like to return. However, that's a non-story. Actor wants to be in a big Star Wars or big franchise property and get paid millions of dollars. Of course they do. What are they going to say? No, I don't want to do that. Even Sir Alec Guinness, who hated Star Wars and did nothing but trash Star Wars until his dying breath. I mean, he did all these auteur and artistic pictures, which, I mean, he was great in all of them. There's a reason why he's Sir Alec Guinness, but they didn't make him any money. It was Star Wars how he made his money. So there was an article that came out in Variety on Wednesday saying Donald Glover talking to Lucasfilm about Lando returning. I would love to play him again. Once again, that's a non-story. Of course he wants to be in Star Wars. Every actor in Hollywood wants to be in Star Wars. Okay? Even Christian Bale has come out to say they want to be in Star Wars. Everyone grew up watching Star Wars. Well, sorry, not everyone. I know in other parts of the world, like in China, they didn't get the original Star Wars trilogy, so every time a Star Wars movie comes out there now, it bombs because they have no nostalgia for it. And there's a lot of people, I meet people all the time, not into Star Wars, don't like it. Maybe they see one of them and it wasn't a good one and they didn't like it. Yeah, I can see that. When I was in university, I met a lot of people that had never watched Star Wars, and I'm like, okay, if you ever want to sit down and watch them sometime, you let me know. Let's see. So, Donald Glover is eyeing a return to a galaxy far, far away. During a video interview with GQ magazine, the actor confirmed that he is currently talking to Lucasfilm about reprising the role of Lando Calrissian in a future Star Wars project. That's what's key about this, that he says he's actually talking to them. And with what we've heard Kathy Kennedy say at Star Wars Celebration this weekend, it sounds like they're getting ready to do something. Yeah, check out the Star Wars Celebration stuff on YouTube. Don't believe me. That's what I've been doing a lot this weekend, that and putting together episodes. What that project would be is remaining under wraps. As Glover said, we're talking about it. That's as much as I can say without Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy hunting me down. Yeah, they're not allowed to say anything. Actors are never allowed to say anything about what they're working on or what's coming out. Even when they're promoting it, it's... What can you tell us about this movie? Well, I'm in it, and it's about this kind of thing, and that's all I can say. Because otherwise, they could get sued for giving away the story. And they'd be in violation of, a dozen NDAs that they have to sign. So now Kathleen Kennedy's talking about this. I hope it's a movie. I mean, it could be a Lando movie. I'm up for that. It could be a prequel to Solo. It could be Solo 2. Solo and Lando team up with the Millennium Falcon and they go arguing around the galaxy buddy cop style. I'd watch that. Or even if it was just him and bring back Phoebe Waller-Bridge to play L3. Was it L3? L4? Now that's bugging me. I gotta look it up. Where is she? Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Hold on. L337. That's her. Oh, and the other guy that was in it, Jonas Suotamo. That's the new guy who plays Chewbacca in these movies. If you go to the StarWars.com website, there's a funny picture of it's not funny. It's a cast picture of Star Wars The Acolyte cast, and they're all standing there, and the shortest members are in the middle, Daphne Keane and Amanda Stenberg, and then it just kind of goes out, and then he's on the end there, and he's like a foot and a half taller than the next person. And he really stands out. And compared to Daphne Keane, he's like 2 feet taller than her. Anyway, seems like a nice guy, though. What was I saying about Solo there? We get to... Oh, yeah, about what they're doing. I hope it's a movie. And yeah, it could be before, it could be after, it could be both of them, it could be just Lando, it could bring back L3. If it's a continuation, then they could bring back Emilia Clarke for more of her character. I'd watch more of her character. Kira, I think it was. And Han together, even if it's just in the background, even if Alden Ehrenreich is just a supporting character and not the lead, fine with that. If it's a series, I'll be happy with that too. But I think a movie, a big budget movie would be better. However, I don't know if they're going to do that because this is the only Star Wars movie that lost money. And I don't know what the budget of it was. But this movie had a lot of drama behind the scenes because this is the movie where famously... big Hollywood directors, producers, writers, Phil Lord and Chris Miller were hired, and then they were making this movie, and then they got fired, because everyone gets fired over at Lucasfilm. They got fired during production, then Lucasfilm brought in Ron Howard, who works for Lucasfilm as well many times. They brought him in, finished up Solo, didn't make money, but they ended up reshooting, 80 to 90% of this film. I don't remember what the actual number was, but it was a huge number. So they had to reshoot the majority of the film. So having to redo the production stage, because you got pre-production, production, post-production, but having to redo the production stage, that is a lot of money. Especially with Star Wars when they're doing locations shooting and going around the world, or even if they're shooting it on the volume, which I think a lot of it was on location, and then on sound stages. But, oof. So, and because of that, and because it wasn't that well received, it lost money. It lost a lot of money. So I don't think they'll do it as a movie. I would like them to. But whatever we get on this, I'm in for it. Can't wait. Are you a fan of Solo, a Star Wars story? I wasn't, but now I am. If you haven't seen it since it came out in the theater, maybe go back and have a look at it again, or not. Maybe you really hated it. But whatever it is, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now I got another Star Wars property. This one's from Expanded Universe. So, for people that might not know, when the original Star Wars movie came out in 1977, ever since then they've been putting out comic books and books and other media, video games, all kinds of stuff, and it was all considered Star Wars: The Expanded Universe. Because for a long time, from 1983 when Return of the Jedi came out till 1999 when Phantom Menace came out, there was no Star Wars movies. There was, some shows in the 80s. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of those, but each to their own. And they've been putting out these books and comic book stories. And when Disney took it over, they decided all that expanded universe stuff that's been released over the last 40 years, all that stuff is now legends. It's non-canonical. It doesn't count towards the Star Wars story. So if there was a story about, one of the famous ones was Shadows of the Empire, that takes place at the same time as Empire Strikes Back and goes into, I think it might go into just before Return of the Jedi, but and after Empire Strikes Back. So are things that are happening. So while the rebels are escaping from Hoth, there's a story about this other rebel, and he's doing this at the same time, and he doesn't go with them. Instead, he ends up fighting with IG-88 and chasing after Boba Fett. But all that stuff, according to Disney, that never happened. And so the legend stuff was going on for years until whenever Disney took it over. So there's lots of old stuff there that they can draw from. And one of these ones is, I got this book a while back, is Star Wars Darth Plagueis, which is by James Luceno. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. When did this book come out? I think it was published in 2012. It says copyright 2012, but also it has another 2014. So it came out around that time. It's non-canonical now. What this book is about, if you remember Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, there's a great scene where young Anakin goes to the opera to see the Supreme Chancellor there, Palpatine, and he tells him the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. And if you watch that scene, it's pretty heavily implied that it was his master and that he killed him, because that's what the Sith do. There's the rule of two, and there's only two Sith, a master and an apprentice. It's been that way for a millennia, and that's how they remain hidden from the Jedi, because when there were thousands of them, they were all at war with the Jedi and with each other and other Force users. But this is some pretty this is some deep cuts Star Wars fans here. So I read this because it's all about Palpatine, who becomes the Emperor, and then his master Darth Plagueis. I mean, even if I spoil it canonical, it's not canonical, so it was an interesting read. It's not as much about Darth Plagueis as I thought it would be. The book starts off, I mentioned this before in a previous episode, the prologue is simply it's Sidious killing Plagueis. That's the prologue before the book begins. And then the first chapter is Plagueis killing his master, Darth Tyrannibus. Probably butchering that too, which is no longer canonical. So there's a lot of Sith killing here. Now they do come back to at the end of the book, Palpatine killing, who's Darth Sidious, killing Darth Plagueis. It does mention Monument Plaza and the mountaintop there that we saw recently in Mandalorian. I think it was episode 3 of season 3, the current season. It does mention Umate and Monument Plaza, so that's something that they carried over from Expanded Universe into the current canon of Star Wars shows and movies that they're making. So they do carry some things into it. You get, oh, he's on the back there. You get Darth Maul as well in there. So he's actually trained by Sidious with the approval of Plagueis. So I guess there's 3 now. But at the same time, Plagueis might be courting someone else. So these Sith don't even obey their own rules. They're just whatever is best for me at the time. And if it doesn't work out later, they just sacrifice them because these people mean nothing to them. One of the interesting things that I learned from reading all this Star Wars lore, for anyone who's not a big Star Wars fan, I can't get enough of it, and that's why I keep reading all this stuff, is the Jedi and the Sith are very different ideologies about how they use the Force, and this is their religion, right? So they're 2 different religions, where the Jedi, they go on, after they die, they go on, and their souls, the Force, goes to the ether, and then they can come back from that ether as blue Force ghosts, but not all of them can. And even during some of the movies, the Jedi didn't even know about that. We saw how they learned it. It was Master Yoda who learned it. We saw that in Clone Wars season 6, I want to say. That was when they were wrapping it up, when they got canceled before it got brought back for next season, for the season 7 a couple years back. So the Jedi are all about that, and they can live on through the Force. Whereas the Sith, for them, once they die, they're dead. There's nothing for them. So they're all about extending their life as long as possible. So that's why it's like Palpatine has to clone himself and put his consciousness in these clone bodies. I guess that movie didn't make much sense for me. And so that's why they're all about cheating death, and that also explains why, I mean, Darth Maul was killed at the end of Phantom Menace, but they brought him back in Clone Wars, even though he was cut in half. Well, the rest of them, apparently his species can survive that, he just doesn't have any legs, so they gave him robotic legs. And we saw a lot of him in Clone Wars and in Rebels. Man, that stuff was great. The animation is really where it's at. So the Sith are all about cheating death. Even Anakin, Darth Vader there, he got all his limbs chopped off and left for dead, burned alive, which, that's a pretty rough way to go. But instead, no, he gets brought back, so he's cheating death, and now he has to live in the suit, which is not comfortable for him. And the rest of the time, he's just floating in a Bacta tank on, what's the name of that planet? Mustafar. Yeah, that's the lava planet that's really strong in the dark side of the Force. Anyway, getting back to this book, Darth Plagueis the Wise. It was an interesting read. I read it because I'm really interested. It didn't really have what I was looking for, but wasn't super action-packed. It was all about him finding Sidious and then training him, and then they move up their plans. And was interesting, the last few chapters take place during the Phantom Menace. As those events are going on, it's showing you other scenes that happened at the same time. And it talks about the lead up to the blockade of the Trade Federation, blockading Naboo, because we all love that, and the Trade Federation, and how they're allied with Sidious and Maul. Whew. So there's more explanation if you want more on that. But really, I give it a best book ever. I enjoyed it. I might go back and read it sometime. But now I'm working on, I don't have it here in front of me, I'm working on Star Wars Dooku Jedi Lost, which is another one of the High Republic series. This one's a bit weird, I find, because it's not a novel. It's written as a play, and it's set in 5 parts of a play, so it's like I'm reading a Shakespeare play, except it's not written in Shakespearean. It's interesting, I'll give it that. I don't know why Kevin Scott? I don't know why the writer decided to make it as a play. He did dedicate the book to Christopher Lee, which I thought was a nice touch. It's right at the beginning of the book. Have you read Darth Plagueis the Wise? If you have, let me know your thoughts on it. If you've read any of the other expanded universe legends or any of the new canonical books, let us know, and which ones you enjoyed and which ones you didn't, then it'll help me pick different books, because right now I'm just kind of picking them at random, whatever sounds good. And they keep coming out with more books, as we're hearing from Star Wars Celebration right now. So I'm going to sign off now and move on to the next segment. Moving on to our next segment, I got Fluffy Kitty here. She's just sprawled out there. We got some comments from some viewers on YouTube, so always want to thank people if they're sending us nice comments. What do we got here? For our last episode from last weekend, where Christine and I, we discussed Murder Mystery 2, we discussed some new trailers for Trolls 3, Elemental, etc. We were talking about Henry Winkler, the Fonz. And, oh yeah, because he's in Barry. He's in the show Barry. Got another message from David Norhoff. Thanks for the message, Dave. He said, I grew up with Henry Winkler, a.k.a. the Fonz. And he says, he has been a lot of good movies. I don't know about the movies. I can't think of any movies. I know he does a lot of TV stuff. He was in recently, he made a cameo appearance in Black Adam. But really, I see him on TV all the time. Anyway, Dave, thanks for your message. Let us know what movies you like him in there. Now, if you don't know who Henry Winkler and you don't get the reference from the Fonz, maybe you're a bit younger, here's what you do. Go ask your parents to ask their parents about the Fonz. It's from Happy Days. Now, we also got a comment from Just Do It 4042. Thank you. He sent us a message on our episode 8 of Chakotay's Odyssey, featuring the adventures of Janeway. And I asked, where are the hardcore Star Trek Voyager fans? We're waiting to hear from you. And he said, here I am, LOL. Ex post facto, that was episode 8, was one of those earlier episodes of Voyager. Tom Paris was accused of killing someone, I think, in this one. Yeah, he was framed for it. And yes, the implant in the brain thing and having to relive the crimes. It was a crazy episode, but I love the murder mystery of it all. But poor Tom Paris, yeah, he had these implants in his brain in this alien culture, and it was like destroying his brain, and he was having all kinds of pain in that. And they're like, no, you must suffer for your crime. That was a weird episode there. Anyway, thanks for your message there. Oh, and this is funny because I replied to him and I said, glad to hear from you. I knew the Star Wars Voyager fans were out there. Feel free to recommend the Star Wars Voyager fans. I completely spaced on that. Feel free to recommend any other episodes of our Chakotay's Odyssey segments. And he replied, he called me out on it right away. Star Wars Voyager fans. Laughing emoji. Yeah, I wasn't thinking that day. That makes me laugh out loud. You mean Star Trek. I'm not much of a Star Wars, but Star Trek Voyager, yes I am. I know y'all will have a field day when you see the episode Tuvix. It is well-known, funny topic amongst us Voyager fans. Thanks for your response. Okay, Tuvix. I'm going to look that up, because I'm going to keep going with our Star Trek Voyager segment of Chakotay's Odyssey featuring the adventures of Janeway. So I'm going to look that up. I'm just waiting to continue with that segment for when Christine gets back from visiting her family. And so I thought that was hilarious. I replied to him, hi, you're absolutely right. Star Wars Voyager fans are really spaced out on that one. So clearly I was not thinking that evening. And who else do we got? Oh, our good buddy Mark Bigelow. I think he said he was in Asia somewhere. He replied to our last episode that I just posted on Friday. Pretty soon Indiana will be the mummy in the next Mummy movie. Beat that horse there. Yeah, he's 80 years old. He's going to be 81 this year. Isn't that a bit too old to be making an Indiana Jones film? I mean, I know Harrison Ford loves that role. I mean, who doesn't love Harrison Ford in that role? But who really wants to see an 80-year-old Indiana Jones? I mean, that last one, Crystal Skull, that was... Oh, don't touch the kitty. Don't touch the camera there, please, kitty. That last one was kind of rough. There you go. Good kitty. Here, can I get you to calm down with the... Nope. She's being a diva today. Okay, that's it for the comments. So, gonna wrap up this episode. If you want to get in touch with us, feel free to shoot us an email. CanadaMovieTVHosers@gmail.com. Feel free to submit a topic of a piece of media you want us to review. Like, Just Do It 4042 recommended there if you have a movie you want us to review. or if you're enjoying any of our segments and you want to let us know and you're looking forward to something coming up, and if you got a news topic, you can submit it there. You can follow the show at Canada Hosers on Twitter. That's where I post every time a new episode is coming out or has come out. I'll post that up there. You can get in touch with us on Twitter using the hashtag Canada Hosers. So if you got a message, just put that in your message and then I'll look that up. I check that all the time. Don't get a lot of messages through Twitter. I guess anyone who's watching the show aren't big Twitter users. And you can follow me on Twitter at St. John's Critic, where I just post updates on new stuff that I'm watching, which will probably be in the coming episodes of the show. And I like to post pictures of Fluffy and Penny Kitty there, the stars of our show, because it's not Christine or I. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did and you want to help us out, you can give us a thumbs up. That'll help out our episode so more people will get exposed to it. You can leave a comment on any of our episodes or segments. You can subscribe for more content. I post a lot of reaction videos every time I go see a new movie in the theater. What did I see this week? I already reviewed. I saw Air and I saw the Super Mario Brothers movies. Both were a good time if you're looking for a fun night out at the movies there. Okay. And so from me and Fluffy Kitty here, who won't sit down, take care.